Hare Krishna, Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihar Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihar Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradha Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradha Hari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanata Hari Yamuna Tira Vanata Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihar Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihar Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradha Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradha Hari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanata Hari Yamuna Tira Vanata Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihar Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihar Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradha Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradha Hari. Yashodanandana Brajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajanarandana Yamunatera Vanata Hari. Yamunatera Vanata Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Radha Kunj Bihari Radha Kunj Bihari Radhe. Jaya Radha Raspi Hari Radha Raspi Hari Radhe. Jaya Radha Vinod Bihari Radha Vinod Bihari Radhe. Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. Jaya Radha Gopinata Radha Gopinata Radhe. Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe. Jaya Radha Ramana Radha Ramana Radhe. Jaya Radha Giridhari Radha Giridhari Radhe. Jaya Radha Shama Sundara Radha Shama Sundara Radhe. Jaya Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Jaya Radhe Sham. Jaya Kṛṣṇa Balaram Kṛṣṇa Balaram Kṛṣṇa Balaram Jaya Kṛṣṇa Balaram. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudev, Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Viṣṇupād Paramahams Sarvagurjaya Shota Satta Shishamathilai Se Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada Ki. Jaya Viṣṇupād Paramahams Sarvagurjaya Shota Satta Shishamathila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Śrīla Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Kodi Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Sirup Si Sanatan Bhattaranganachi Jeev Gopala Bhattara Saraganachari Goswami Prabhu Ki. प्रेम से को श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवजरि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गो गोप गोपी गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की मथुर धाम की मैपुर नवद धाम की जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की तुलसी महारानी भक्ति देवी की गंगा यमुना देवी की हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की श्री श्री गौनिताय की श्री श्री कृष्ण बलराम की श्री श्री राधा श्याम सुंदर की गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल सामवेद भक्त वृंद की all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Garanga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. And we are reading from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, 4th chapter, text number 23. Gata-saṅgasya, muktasya, jñāna-avasthita-cetasaḥ, yajñāyācarataḥ, karma samagram pravilīyate. Gata-saṅgasya muktasya jñāna-avasthita-cetasaḥ yajñāyācarataḥ karma samagram pravilīyate. Gata-saṅgasya muktasya jñāna-avasthita-cetasaḥ yajñāyācarataḥ karma samagram pravilīyate. Gata-saṅgasya muktasya jñāna-avasthita-cetasaḥ yajñāyācarataḥ karma samagram pravilīyate. Gat gata-saṅgasya, of one unattached to the modes of material nature. Muktasya, of the liberated. Jñāna-avasthita, situated in transcendence. Cetasaḥ, whose wisdom. Yajñāya, for the sake of yajña, Kṛṣṇa. Ācarataḥ, acting. Karma, work. Samagram, in total. Pravilīyate, merges entirely. The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. Purport by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki, becoming fully Kṛṣṇa conscious, one is freed from all dualities and thus is free from the contamination of the material modes. He can become liberated because he knows his constitutional position in relationship with Kṛṣṇa, and thus his mind cannot be drawn from Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Consequently, whatever he does for Kṛṣṇa, who is the primeval Viṣṇu. Therefore, all his works are technically sacrifices, because sacrifice aims at satisfying the Supreme Person, Viṣṇu, Kṛṣṇa. The resultant reactions to all such works certainly merge into transcendence, and one does not suffer material effects. Om jñāna-timirandasya jñānanjana-salakaya Chakasodan militam yanam tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Bhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalan Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sirupam sagrajatam sagana raganatan vitam tam sajivam sadaitam savadutam parjana saitam Kṛṣṇa chaitanya devam Sri Radha Kṛṣṇa padan sagana lalita Sri Viṣakandvitamscha. He Kṛṣṇa karuna sindhu dīnabandho jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastude Tapta Ganjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshari Brijabhano Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Banchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Kṛṣṇa 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. गतसङgasya muktasya jñānāvasthita-cetasaḥ yajñāyācarataḥ karma samagram pravilīyate. The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. In this verse and the previous verses, Kṛṣṇa is explaining the position of a person who is transcendentally situated, who has transcendental knowledge. So first of all, he's explaining gata-saṅgasya, that the situation of a person who is transcendentally situated, as Prabhupada is writing in a purport, who is situated in his constitutional position in relationship with Kṛṣṇa. So that means when he has realized that is not the body, that is completely different from the gross and subtle body, but is realizing that is a spirit soul. And is realizing it is relationship with Kṛṣṇa. In one of the 5 relationships with Kṛṣṇa which are there in Braj, or for those in Vaikuntha, so they will understand that Viṣṇu is the Supreme Lord and we are the servant of the Lord. So that is the constitutional position of the jivas. So one who is so situated, so even Prabhupada has explained in this regard, in the very beautiful purport, in the long purport to the Bhagavad Gita, where he's explained also about the 5 relationships. So that is explaining gat, also the same word, gata-saṅgasya. So 2 kinds of situations are there, and one is known as Sarup gat, and the other one is known as Vastu gat. In other places it is explained as Sarup siddhi and Vastu siddhi. So first of all, one has to realize one's relationship with Kṛṣṇa, his constitutional position, his transcendental position. So not only theoretically but practically. Atma-sakshakar, and as Kṛṣṇa is explained in 9th chapter, Raja Vidya Raja Goyam Pavitamidam Uttamam Pratakshakshram Dharmyam Prataksha, direct experience of the soul. That is self-realization. That is understanding one's constitutional position. When the practical realization is there, that is known as Sarup Gat or Sarup Siddhi. And after giving up this body, if one has attained that state, then he can engage in the wonderful loving exchange with Kṛṣṇa in the transcendental realm. He can enter the pastimes of Kṛṣṇa, and that is known as Sarup, that is known as Vastu Gat or Vastu Siddhi. First realization, practical realization, not the theoretical. He sees Kṛṣṇa directly, he sees his actual spiritual, he sees his own spiritual form and relationship with Kṛṣṇa. As a cowherd, as a gopa in friendly relationship, as an elderly gopa or gopi as in vatsalya bhav, in parental affection, or if, as mostly now sampradaya, even conjugal relationship as a gopi, so he has practical realization. But at that time, so he may see Krishna's pastimes, but he's not yet there in the pastime. In his mind he can do seva, or with the body he can do seva, but he's not there in the pastimes yet. But as indicated here, gata-saṅgasya, so Gat, because he's properly situated on the transcendental platform, so he's unattached Sangha. Sangha, so here that refers to the association with the modes of material nature. So it's free from the association with the modes of material nature. So it's unattached to them. Because he's transcendently situated, because he's attached to Kṛṣṇa. Then only you can be fully detached from this material attachment, from this material world, from the modes of material nature. Muktasya, liberated, is free. Yajñāyācarataḥ karma-nama-rasagira. So that is explained also. Even if one is situated in this material world, yajñāyācarataḥ karma-nama-rasagira jñāna-avasthita jiva muktasya. So that if one is engaged in this material world, if one is engaged in Kṛṣṇa's service or Viṣṇu's service with the body, mind and words, karmana manasa gira, then one is liberated even though he is situated in this material world. So that is Swarup Siddhi. And then also it is explained actually so that of course that is liberated state, but then even so then afterwards of course one has to be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord practically in a transcendental loving exchange with Kṛṣṇa. So that is explained by Prabhupada also and the previous acharyas. If one is attaining that situation, after giving up the body, he will go to one of the universes where Kṛṣṇa is performing his pastimes. And then he will engage, after having taken birth the last time from a womb of a gopi, and then growing to the permanent age. And then after that, so he will engage in the transcendental loving service, in the loving exchange with Kṛṣṇa, under the guidance of the Nitya-Siddha Parika, the eternal associates of Kṛṣṇa. So that is the transcendental situation. And here it is named, mentioned jñāna-avasthita. Jnana, of course, that means knowledge, but it means also realized knowledge, transcendence, when one is transcendently situated. Nikila avasthasu, avastasu. So in this verse, yajñāyācarataḥ karma-nama-rasagira, nikila shavyavavastu, jivan muktasya. Avasthit, situated. So if one is situated on the transcendental platform, which is the realized platform, not only the theoretical knowledge, but vijñāna, the realized knowledge. And then, so cetasaḥ, that means, of course, here explained as wisdom. So chitta, so the consciousness is completely absorbed in Kṛṣṇa. So transcendently situated. And so if the consciousness is completely situated in transcendence, as explained here, then naturally, so then all the senses are engaged in the transcendental loving service. So the real ego is there. I am the eternal servant of Kṛṣṇa. And then at that point, there is no material ego there. That I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm Indian, or I'm American, I'm a lawyer, I'm this or that. So although he may be situated in this world and he may act in a certain way, but he's completely aloof from this false identification. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tat pravilīyate nirmanam rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. That is bhakti. So sarva upadi vinirmuktam, sarva upadi, he is free from all upadi, the material designations. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tat paravena nirmalam. So his consciousness is completely pure, absorbed in Kṛṣṇa. Rishikesha rishikena sevanam. So he is engaged in the transcendental service of Kṛṣṇa. So that is the transcendental position. And so again here further explained, yajñāyācarataḥ, acharan, sadachar, proper behavior is there, proper conduct. So we have to be engaged in activities. Acting, acharata, acting or karma, So one's activity, so that should be yajñāya, for the sake of yajña. Yajña by Viṣṇu. Yajña is performed for the pleasure of Viṣṇu. Yajña Purush is Viṣṇu. But of course here Prabhupada is writing in bracket Kṛṣṇa, or even in the purport, that whatever he does, that is for Kṛṣṇa, who is the primeval Viṣṇu. So all works are technically sacrifice. Whatever we are doing ultimately, so that has to be offered to Kṛṣṇa. As Kṛṣṇa said, Yad karoshi yad yajñāsa yajñohosi tadasi yad. So that whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you give away, whatever austerity you may perform, that should be done as an offering unto me. So yajña is not only fire sacrifice, but and usually involves to be some austerity, some difficulties there, just like if one is doing a fire sacrifice. First of all, one has to take a bath in the morning, one has to put on fresh cloth, and one should do some devotional activities, and then a yajña may be performed. At that time again, some mantras, achman is performed for purification, and then mantras are chanted, and then the Ishtadev is worshipped. In our case, Guru Gauranga Kṛṣṇa, or some may worship Viṣṇu. So, and then one has to sit for a sacrifice. At least it will take 2 hours, because one will do puja, maybe some explanation is there of the activity, and then Agni Dev. So always first there's puja when there's a yajña of the Ishtadev, and then the Agni Dev is ignited and worshipped, and then offerings are made to the Supreme Lord while chanting mantra, and an offering of ghee is there, offering of havan samagri, auspicious items like rice, barley corn, black sesame seeds, and then auspicious herbs, and they offer it to the fire while one is saying swaha. So swaha also means actually, of course, that is the wife of Viṣṇu also, and so through to the eternal concert of the Lord, and the Lord can be satisfied, just like we approach Radharani in order to satisfy Kṛṣṇa. But swaha also means, swaha means one own self, ha means one is surrendering. Even when we do yajña, with the priest usually we say, after offering the ahutis, chanting a mantra, then he will say, idam Kṛṣṇaya idam namama, swaha idam Kṛṣṇaya idam namama, every time. Idam Kṛṣṇaya, it is unto Kṛṣṇa I'm offering this. Idam namama, it is not for me. Because actually the enjoying spirit is very strong, and every second one has to choose Kṛṣṇa rather than Maya or our own sanctification. So therefore doing the yajña even, it is done. So of course usually that time one is in a purified state, the environment is very positive, but still material nature is very strong. Even it is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, when Prithu and his wife, so they were, the marriage ceremony was there, even actually 2 times, one more time. Then Agni Dev, so appeared, so when we call, first we call the fire, and there's a name of each fire for every ceremony. And then, so, because if we just make a fire, igniting some wood, Agni Dev is to some extent present, but not fully. But if one is qualified, then one will call a specific fire by his name, like for an auspicious activity known as Mangal Homa. In the marriage, the fire's name is Yojaka. In initiation, Vaishnav or Samudabhavaha. So different names are there. And in Griha Pravesh, Partiva, and so on. So then Yajña, Murti, the Agni Dev, so was present. And as even Swambhuv Manu, when he got married also, that is the second instance, and his wife was very, very beautiful. So they were going around the fire. And Agni Devi was just looking at the wife of Swayambhuv Manu because she was so beautiful. Of course, he was checking himself, but it is explained he was attracted. And he's a demigod, a powerful demigod. So even we know Lord Brahma also became bewildered when one of his daughters appeared. So Indradev, many times he becomes bewildered. So it is very, very strong, the attachment to this material world. So therefore it is a sacrifice to give up this attachment to this material world and to engage everything for Krishna's sake. So therefore ultimately everything is a yajña, whatever we offer. So that is the meaning here as Prabhupada is writing. So a devotee's work, therefore, all his works are technically sacrifice, because sacrifice aims at satisfying the Supreme Person, Viṣṇu. Viṣṇu is mentioned because usually Viṣṇu is there who is accepting the offerings. But we know that Viṣṇu is simply an expansion of Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa is Swayam Bhagavan. So even for example when we're chanting the holy names, when we do Sankirtan Yajña, again the word Yajña is there, we chant the holy names, Sankirtan together. But even the word Sankirtan does not only mean that together we chant the holy names, as Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada has explained, Samyak Rupena Kirtan. Sankirtan means Samyak Rupena Kirtan, means to be completely absorbed in chanting the holy name. Like here samagram or Samyak Rupena, it's the same meaning. In total, everything is offered to Kṛṣṇa. That is, even if you chant properly japa, absorb, that is also Sankirtan Yajña. And there's one verse in glorification of course, of the Lord ultimately, or the holy names specifically, because Kṛṣṇa Nama are non-different. And then so one of them is explaining this verse, Nama Yajña, Nama Yajña Mahayajña. It is the great sacrifice. By engaging in Sankirtan, either congregational or by japa, Kaula kalmasha nashanam, the kalmash, the impurities, which are very strong in the age of Kali, nashanam, they are destroyed. And then it is mentioned there, especially in the age of Kali, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prite Arte. So it is for the pleasure, again here, as yajñāya, for the sake of yajña of Kṛṣṇa. So we should do everything. So for the pleasure of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we chant the holy names. In this way, Nama Yajña Samarpanam, we are offering the holy names. So, and if one is in this way engaged totally, then pravilīyate, then one is completely merged on the transcendental plane. And if one is transcendently situated, as Prabhupada is explaining in the purport, that if one's activities merge into transcendence, one does not suffer material effects. So if one is transcendently situated, free from the three modes of material nature, there's no question of any reaction to our activities. Whereas if one is not completely situated in transcendence, if one is still in the modes of material nature, then there will be still some reaction to one's activities. So therefore we have to try to be always transcendently situated. And practically we can see a sadhaka when we're performing devotional service, but maybe sometimes we say something wrong to somebody else. And then immediately there may be a reaction. Oh, why are you telling me this? And he may become angry. Many times you see devotees, they are verbally sometimes disagreeing, even fighting, and even so much so that physically also they may fight with each other because they're not properly situated. And always it starts with the consciousness. If the consciousness is not fully absorbed, in Kṛṣṇa. But if the consciousness is under the modes of material nature, then surely sometimes one will say something wrong and one will do something wrong. That is practically unavoidable. Therefore, even it is mentioned by the acharyas that every day, especially when we worship the deities, after the puja, after artik, one has to beg forgiveness from the Lord. Mantra inam kriya inam bhakti inam janadana yad pujita mayadeva paripurnam tadastu me. Hey Janardana, hey Kṛṣṇa, please let my activity be complete, paripurna. Although mantra hinam, although the mantras are not chanted properly always, some mistake was there. Kriya hinam, I didn't do the seva very nicely, maybe something just fell over the cup of water or something. And then also bhakti hinam, I don't have bhakti. But still I'm trying my best, my dear Lord, and therefore let it be complete. So that one has to do every seva. And the pujaris are considered to be very dear to the Lord, very near to the Lord. They're supposed to be exalted. Brahmanas, Vaishnavas, and because they're always with Kṛṣṇa, so they're very fortunate. But even for them it is required that every day they will chant these mantras for obtaining forgiveness. Also, Srila Sanatana Goswami has explained in Hari Bhakti Vilas that every evening, every devotee before taking rest, they should beg forgiveness from the Lord, from the holy names, from the Dham, for the Vaishnavas, if any offense has been performed. So if one is not yet completely situated on the transcendental plane, then one has to beg forgiveness every day for one's shortcomings, which are there if one is under the modes of material nature. So actually it is not so easy to be completely transcendental and to be fully Kṛṣṇa conscious. Actually it will take time. But at least one should try one's best to be properly situated on the transcendental plane, as it is mentioned here, or even Prabhupada has explained many times, or the acharyas also. One should do one's japa with some bandha gyan. With the consciousness, I'm not this body, I'm spirit soul. I'm a servant of Kṛṣṇa. Somehow I'm in this material world, but I have to become free from this material world, from the modes of material nature. And let me go back to the spiritual world. So that is Sambandha Gyan in short. So with this Sambandha Gyan, one should do japa. With this consciousness, one should worship the deities. With this consciousness, one should try to do anything. So that is proper situation. If you are aware of our position, constitutional position, then we are properly situated, and then we can feel transcendental bliss, and then we can be free from the modes of material nature, and that is ultimately the desired situation. But for that, so we have to be constantly engaged in spiritual activities with great enthusiasm. Utsa nisheddarya tatta karma pravatana sanga tyaga sato vrite sadvir bhakti prasiddhati. Then our bhakti will be prasiddha, will be perfect. So we have to remain enthusiastic despite all difficulties. One must remain fixed that I have to attain this pure devotional service. I have to be always transcendently situated. Nishta has to be there. And then one has to be patient. Because in a conditioned state, the difficulties will be there. But tatta karma pravatanat, one must always be engaged in the various devotional activities. And again here also sangha. Sangha tyagat. So sangha, association with this material world, has to be given up. Or unwanted association of materialistic persons or even materialistic devotees. And sato vrite, In order to attain that, one must be in good association. In the association with the sadhus, with Sadhguru, or with a pure devotee, spiritual master, or Sadshishya, or the devotees who are pure, who are purely following the spiritual master. And that is known as Saddharma, that is transcendental religion, transcendentally situated. So that we have to try to achieve. Parodharma, transcendental situation. So dharma, that is Sanatan Dharma, Jaiva Dharma, Jivka Dharma. The religion for the jiva, for the soul, that is a devotional service, pure devotional service. So dharma means religion, but also it means the constitutional position and service of the living entity, that is service to Kṛṣṇa. So that is a proper situation which we have to achieve. So that is the goal of life. Any questions? No question? Everything clear? Yes, by Mahaprabhu's mercy, everything is clear. We simply chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So today it was nicely raining, so that is very wonderful. But because it was raining so heavily, I couldn't get the Mahaprasad. Next time, Mahaprasad. Hare Krishna.